All right, so what's so special about rows? Well, so far we've talked about tables and tables being a collection of columns and rows. And we kind of talked about columns being special in that they have specific types of data that can be saved into them. Now, when we go into the specific data that we're saving, well, each and every column has that constraint, right? The constraint that we talked about, or the attribute domain. Well, when we start creating rows, we're actually inserting data into the table at this point. And another word for rows that you will hear used interchangeably is tuples. Now, I can hear you saying tuples? What are tuples? Well, a tuple is nothing more than a single record of data. That's all it means. So one tuple is one singular row of data. Tuples are multiple rows of data. And so what's important to know here is that each and every tuple follows the column constraints, right? Remember when we had constraints above here? Date of birth should only be date time. Well, each and every tuple has to follow the column constraints. So the ID must always be a number. First name and last name can only be text. The sex or gender has to be a singular letter. Date of birth has to be a date of birth. That's what's so special about rows, or as we call them also, tuples. Now, remember when we said multiple columns are called the degree, the collection of columns? Well, when we talk about all of the tuples or all of the rows, all of the data that is in the table, we have a special term for that as well. We call that the cardinality, or the collection of rows or tuples. That's a special term that you may also hear used, although not that often, but it is the correct terminology when talking about multiple rows of data. You talk about the cardinality of the table. All right. So now that we've dove deeper into both columns and rows, let's take a broader look at what makes the relational model so special.